wanted to destroy it.
I've said before that I'm not much of a statue guy. I prefer action figures when it comes to collecting, but that doesn't mean I'm completely uninterested in them. I looked at the Pop-Up Parade Ryuko previously, and now I'm looking at something far, far more expensive. The S-Fire Sonic Adventure 2 statue. I saw this last year and thought it looked incredible, so I figured I could pre-order it and then in a year's time make some space to display it. What I wasn't expecting was how big this thing apparently is. Look at the size of this box. It's huge. It's so big I had to bring it into the spare room as my usual recording space wouldn't accommodate it. Look, I know the statue isn't literally the same size as the box, but still. Well, if nothing else, I was able to clean out some room for this thing to be displayed, so let's get it set up and take a look at it. So here's everything as it's packaged. You do get instructions to help you set it up. It's all in Japanese, but it's still very easy to follow thanks to the pictures. Not that there's a whole lot to do here. The main thing is just removing the plastic covers and styrofoam that covers both the base as well as Sonic and Shadow themselves. Also, something I do want to make sure I point out, the base does have pads underneath it, so you shouldn't have to worry about its stability once you put it on a shelf. Anyway, once all the protective stuff is removed, all that's left is plugging Sonic and Shadow into their respective spots. And there we go, that's all the setup done. So now that that's taken care of, and I no longer have to deal with the giant box, let's head back into the regular review space and properly talk about this thing. I said earlier that I thought this statue looked incredible upon first seeing it, and that still holds true in person. This is an amazing looking statue. From top to bottom, the detail here is immaculately done. The road debris is really nicely detailed, but the standout for the base itself comes from the effect parts. They add a really nice sense of motion and dynamism to the whole thing. The effect parts also have some nice white airbrushing in it that helps it pop just a little bit, although thankfully not to the point where it distracts from the main attraction. One thing I do think the base would benefit from is a little bit more red. The base is meant to represent Radical Highway, so maybe having just a bit of the roadside walls would have been a bit nice. Not a deal breaker that it isn't there though, obviously. But of course we should really be talking about Sonic and Shadow, because man oh man, they look absolutely incredible. Honestly, I think this is the best looking figure versions of either character. At least of the ones I've seen, anyway. The attention to detail is insane. All of it is molded in, and the paintwork really brings it all together. Shadow's shoes have a glossy metallic look to it, while Sonic's have a more matte look, helping to sell how they're made of different materials. Their bodies also get some nice airbrushing on them to help give the figure more definition, although this is more noticeable on Sonic than it is Shadow. The only thing I can call an issue, the only bit of criticism I really have is these small little paint mishaps Sonic has on him. Yes, these are incredibly small and barely noticeable at a normal viewing distance, but I sweated details like this on Ryuko, so you best believe I'm going to do it on a figure that costs over 500 Canadian dollars. But that's it. That's the only real problem I have. This statue on the whole is absolutely fantastic. Size comparison time. This statue isn't actually that tall, especially in comparison to the Ryuko I looked at previously, but it makes up for that with the base covering a far greater surface area. It definitely feels like something that will look at its best in a display case, glass or otherwise, especially with an added backdrop and good lights, but that's just me spitballing ideas. Ultimately, the biggest barrier this thing has is the price point. At around over 500 Canadian dollars, this is something really only for the high-spending Sonic fan. If that sounds like you and you're financially responsible enough that spending this won't cause you any money problems, go for it. Otherwise, despite its quality, you're better off not bothering. But that's all I've got to say about this statue. What do you guys think? What Sonic stuff do you think should be made into a statue? Personally, I think Metal Overlord would be a good choice, but let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later!